on the agenda as far as social media stuff is, talking a little bit about, the different platforms, and just so we can kind of get something kicked off as far as talk about it while people are drinking their coffee and getting ready for the morning and getting their brain working. But is, the different platforms, and which platforms should you have your real estate business on? There's all sorts of different ones. Do you join them all? Do you join one and go hard at it? Like I've always had those kind of questions myself. Is like, do you join 4 or 5 different platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, there's all of them, and then spread yourself thin and really not do anything on any of them? Or do you like go hard with one of them and, and kind of go all in on that particular platform? Like what is the right strategy there? And then also, I think, so we'll talk about that. The other thing that we can kind of tie it into is, the use of tools, and, what tools are there out there for social media? And basically like, can you help automate your business? And to what extent? There's tools out there where you can completely be hands off and it does everything for you, but is that really the right strategy? Like I've seen a lot of people, and when they're automating their social media and it just looks so generic and like, you're like, oh, it's not even helpful. Like, it kind of is I would say more hurtful than helpful, because they use these things that just like put out random blog posts, but they don't really have any kind of meaning to them or whatever. And is that the right strategy, or, how much work needs to go into this? So anyways, those are a couple things on my mind. I'll say, I'm happy to start with that discussion because, again, as far as social media goes, my thought is, I'm on all of them, right? The only one I'm not on is Snapchat. I don't really, to get into that, I'm not doing that for my business. I don't do it personally. But as far as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, I'm on every single one of those platforms. There are ones that I invest more time and effort into. I would say that the one that I invest the most time into is, of course, Facebook. I just think that for people buying homes, if you look, there's all sorts of studies and things out there for average age groups with these different platforms. And, in the average on Facebook is higher. I pulled this up. I think this was kind of interesting. Let me share my screen real quick with you guys. So here we go. So you can see this here. It says social platforms like Snapchat and Instagram are especially popular amongst those aged 18 to 24. I'm not really going after those people, right? I'm going for people that are a little bit older. And if you look at the age group on these different platforms, even the difference between Instagram and like Facebook, right? Like here's like the age groups up here, 50 plus, 30 to 49. Sorry if this is a little small. Let me see if I can make it bigger. There we go. So you can kind of see it here, like Instagram is, 16% of people are over 50. So versus 55% of the people 50 up are on Facebook. So there's a lot more older people on Facebook. And then even like, if you go into like the 30 to 49 range, which is where the majority of my clients are, there's almost 80% of people that age that are on Facebook. Whereas 30 to 49 is kind of closer down here to like the 40% range on even Instagram. It's even lower on Snapchat. YouTube, everybody's kind of on YouTube, I would say. That's more of like almost, if you look at it like a search console, right? Like it's like almost like just being on Google. Like you can put videos there. I'd highly recommend it. We can talk all about that as a social media platform. But that's the one that's a little bit different that I would say even, Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying by all of this is, in my personal opinion, I like to be in multiple places, but I focused most of my efforts on, putting most of my content out there on Facebook. That's just me personally. I run Facebook ads, versus I don't run ads on anything else. I don't do anything on Instagram or YouTube for ads or anything like that. But Facebook is where I run the majority of my ads from. So that gives you an overall strategy. Now, I don't know if anybody's doing anything different. Curtis, maybe, you can share too. I know you probably got some thoughts about this as well, but where are you spending the majority of your time?
Yeah, it's absolutely Facebook as well, Kyle. But I do like the Instagram data. So what I found interesting on that screen that you were sharing was, the highest percentage of 30 to 49 and 55 and up people spend their time on Facebook, but the next highest percentage of 30 to 49 was Instagram. And I see that as an up-and-coming platform, and I personally use Instagram, not as much for my real estate business, but just to connect with a lot of different kinds of entrepreneurs across the country. But I see a lot of real estate agents starting to use Instagram very successfully for sort of allowing their, potential clients or current clients to get a little bit more intimate, a relationship with them, to get to know them a little bit more. Like the use of Instagram stories, the stuff you can do on Instagram is very different than Facebook. So I see Facebook as kind of your primary platform. And if you're going after that 30 to 49 demographic, I see Instagram as your secondary platform. And the beautiful thing is that they link together very well. So you don't have to spend a lot of time doing double work if you pick those two platforms as your core strategy.
Yeah. And, I guess, I even want to take it a step back too, like, and kind of talk about why, like, why do we even use these social media platforms to help like run our business, and here's what I would say as far as the reason why I use them, personally, is I think there's two reasons. First and foremost, I mean, it's branding, right? Like, so I think it's two things. You got lead generation and branding. Those are the two reasons why I would say that you want to be on social media. You want to be doing it at whatever level you can do it at, the highest level potentially. But I mean, I've had so many people that they might not be a lead through Facebook or anything like that. But in this day and age, people look you up everywhere, right? They want to see as much as they can about you before they, give you that first phone call, or, if they're making a decision between multiple agents, they're going to typically look you up, and you want to have, profiles that look professional, that are filled out, that, have good content, or, at least like testimonials and reviews and stuff like that, where you can make it easy for people to select you and choose you. Right. And that's kind of your branding piece. Because yes, we're all with, different brokerages and whatnot, and the brokerage part of it might help a little bit, but quite honestly, in this day and age, it's all about, you personally branding yourself, and like, what value do you bring to the table, in this real estate game. And so like, that's where, having something like, a professional looking, social media kind of presence is going to really help you. But then in addition to that, the second part of it is you do generate massive amounts of leads, or you can generate massive amounts of leads from these social media platforms. Most of it, in my opinion, like, I've run ads a whole lot on Facebook. We were generating anywhere from 400, 500, 600 leads a month using just Facebook. And that was a huge strategy for us. And we can kind of talk a little bit about the ads. I mean, that's going to be a part of this discussion today, but the ad side of it. And so, but and you can't be running ads if you don't have these platforms available, right? Like, even on Facebook, you can't run Facebook ads unless you have a business profile. Like, if you just have a personal profile, you can't even run Facebook ads. And so, so I mean, as far as having a profile, I definitely recommend it. Definitely, you need to get it set up. What are your thoughts there? Is there another reason, Curtis, maybe that I'm missing as to why you would want to have a social media presence?
Yeah, man. So you nailed it, first of all, with the core two, right? Branding. And in branding, you should think everything from, promotion, engagement, sharing stories, etc. Then lead generation, being able to run ads, as Kyle mentioned. The third one, and this one is huge, is communication. So many people will actually chat with you via Messenger, Facebook, and Instagram direct message that will not answer your phone call, open your email, or respond to your text message, believe it or not. There are so many people that spend their time on Facebook. They're quicker to respond to a Facebook message than they are to traditional communication. And, I can't tell you how many times we actually engaged with prospective buyers and sellers on Facebook Messenger for a long time before we actually ever got them on the phone and set the appointment. So that's the third reason, is communication. And so you think about it, your social media platforms, they pair or partner with your database and CRM that we talked about last week, right? So let's just use your sphere of influence, for example. You've sent them an email, they haven't responded. You sent them a text, they haven't responded. You know them, they know you, but all of a sudden now on Facebook, you like and comment on their post, and they will absolutely engage back the majority of the time. So you use that social media platform, specifically Facebook and Instagram, as a communication tool as well. It's extremely effective. It's fast. It's meeting people where they're at, where they're spending their time at. And typically it's going to be even, a lower barrier, if you will, to communication than the traditional tools for most buyer and seller leads, if you can connect with them on social platforms.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, so now we're starting to get some questions in here, some good stuff. So Kyle, how often do you run Facebook ads? So normally, to answer your question now, at this point, it's my business is a little bit different, right? I don't actually run my sales team anymore, like my local sales team, like I was before. At that point in time, when I had my local sales team, we were running ads. I mean, every day they were running 24/7, and we were spending probably about $2,500 to $3,000 a month on Facebook ads. We were generating anywhere from 400 to 600 leads. Our average cost per lead was anywhere from $4 to $6 or so per lead. And that's basically a person with a name and a number. But the thing is, here's the difference is now, since I don't have my team, I'm mostly, all referral based, working sphere of influence. And so all the stuff that I do on Facebook and social media is to help my organic kind of growth and just keep my business kind of moving forward. I no longer have, a team of 6 to 8 local agents that I'm, sending leads out to daily. So I don't do the Facebook ads personally anymore. But I would say that if you're a newer agent or something where you're trying to get leads, that might be something you definitely want to investigate further is, how to actually run Facebook ads, Facebook lead ads on Facebook. To start generating leads. Now, there's all sorts of videos. You can Google it, get on YouTube on how to set up Facebook ads for real estate. Travis Tom. I don't know if anybody has heard of that name or if that rings a bell for anybody. It's THOM is his last name, Travis Tom. He has got a lot of great stuff on YouTube that you can watch that helps you set up your funnels, your Facebook lead ad funnels that could get you set up and get you started in the right direction there. There you go. Curtis put it in there. That's who I followed him for a very long time when we were starting to run funnels and doing all that. And Facebook makes it very simple for you to do it. Basically, most funnels, you got to have like a landing page, you got to create it. You got to have, forms that get filled out and have places where those leads go. Whereas with Facebook, you can literally keep the entire process inside of the Facebook ecosystem through the Facebook lead ad platform. And that's what I always used. I used Facebook lead ads. So I never had to create a separate landing page. I never had to do all this like extra stuff. I literally had a Facebook business page, the handy team at EXP, and we would run, Facebook ads from that business page called Facebook lead ads. So you come up with whatever your ad's going to be. You come up with the form within Facebook. It'll ask you like, what are you asking for? Like their name, email, phone number, all that kind of stuff. And that's it, right? And then like, what's your call to action? Like, what's your value that you're giving them for providing that information? And Travis, he's got great videos on, different ideas that you can do to like target different things. Like if are you targeting buyers? Are you targeting sellers? What's your give? Like, what are you giving to them? In my case, what we were running as a real successful ad for a couple of years was actually when we would do pool ads, right? We would say, hey, click here, put your information in here if you'd like to get, the most comprehensive list of all the homes on the market with swimming pools, right? That was it. It was so easy, so simple. And basically they would fill out that information, put it in there, and then they would get, it was funny because we had an IDX website. We've always had an IDX website, which is hooked up to our MLS. And all it is you're basically creating a search for homes with pools in your area, filter it by the ones that are the most recent listings. So you're not getting homes that have been in there for 300 days and, they're not interested people, get the last 7 days or something. And it's going to give you a link. Well, you can put that link in as your give out. So when they fill out that information, they get the link, they click on it, it goes to your website, which with an IDX feed. And basically, that's your give. And now you've got their contact information and you can start following up. We did that funnel for a long time and it worked really well. I'm sure you can still figure out, how to actually build it, the mechanics of it. It will take some time. If you've never run a Facebook ad, then it definitely takes time. But now what I will say, as far as, getting off the ad side of it, like just on the organic side, we still do, like I still do Facebook organic stuff. And that's probably, I do all social media organic stuff. And that's the source of my business. That's how I communicate, like Curtis said, with people, whether I'm actually communicating in a messenger form or I'm just communicating. Like, it's so funny how like Facebook now is like truly communication. Like people see that, they know what is going on in my life, they know what's going on in my business. So even though we've got like a million things going on, me and my family, they still see I'm still selling real estate, right? Like I post up this, I post up that. And so,
Hey, Kyle, let me pause you there. I want to get more specific on examples, right? So Facebook ads is like, it's the next step. It's an advanced lead generation strategy, right? So the basic lead generation strategy that Kyle's talking about, last week we were talking about database, and we talked about a couple of ways that you could touch the folks in your network, your sphere of influence. And two of the things we talked about was your letter of the heart and your evidence of success, right? And a letter of the heart, for anybody who didn't watch last week, was just a personal letter about your life, your business, your family that you share with your sphere of influence, and you actually literally mail out to people. Well, imagine doing that letter of the heart as a Facebook post where you share something that's going on in your life. You take a picture of you and your family at the beach, and you talk about how this vacation is something you've worked so long to build up to, and how it's amazing, and how you're still buying and selling houses and helping clients even while you're traveling, and give you a call anytime. Like, you share that post, and maybe you even tag a couple of the people you talked to recently. Maybe you don't. As soon as you see your sphere of influence hit like, you drop a comment. Hey, Kyle, thanks for liking my picture, man. Hope you're doing well. What are you guys up to this summer? That is the communication Kyle's talking about. That is the introductory level lead generation, because you're staying top of mind, you're sending them a personal message, and you've shared something personally about yourself that allows them to get into a deeper relationship with you and remember that you're a real estate agent and that you're a human, a person, right? The other tactic we talked about last week, not just the letter of the heart, it was the evidence of success. So that was, hey, I just sold a house this month, closed fast, and whatever you're promoting, right? Same thing on social media. Put up a picture every time you do a closing, not just when you go to closing. You probably see these posts all the time from your friends when things go under contract, when you get something on or off the market really quickly, something that demonstrates your success level, and you use social media to do that same level of demonstration. But you've got to do more than just throw up the picture. Like I said, when you see somebody like it, you comment. When you see somebody comment, you respond, and then you go like and post on their stuff. Like, social media is the ultimate, I'd say, speed equalizer, because you can get to people so much faster than you used to be able to. So just some real tangible examples of how Kyle, like he said, generates majority of his leads now online, because he thinks through these things strategically related to using his Facebook posts to actually create engagement and generate communication.
And can I also say one other thing? I thought this was a funny story actually the other day, that I have a good friend. He's here in San Antonio with me. He's an attorney, and but he's like one of my sphere of influence. He's bought a house through me and all that kind of stuff. But he's got another friend who's a real estate agent here in San Antonio. So he sees his Facebook stuff. And the funny thing is, he's like, man, do you know who this realtor is? It looks like he's like so busy. Like, he's always like posting up all this stuff on homes, and man, it sounds like he's probably killing it in real estate. And I'm like, I look up this guy because I've got MLS access and I can see, like how many houses he's sold. I looked it up. The dude sold like 6 homes this year, which, I mean, that's good. That's really good. But like the appearance, and I looked at this guy's Facebook page, that, and truly he was posting up every time he got a new buyer. He'd put it on there. Whenever they were showing houses, he put it on there. Whenever they would, be under contract, he put it on there. Whenever they closed, he put it on there. So like, there's multiple points that you can do with one person that make it look like you're like just killing it, when,
you're the go-to agent in the market. Because you've been to a couple of new construction homes and held some open houses.
Exactly. And it's, people are watching. Like, even my buddy who, he's going to use me no matter what. Like, he's like, dude, this guy is just crushing it. And so, I mean, if you think of that, like the power of that, I think that's what's really helpful. So that being said, I think, the other thing that I want to talk about real quick too, and this is almost a question that I'm putting out there to you guys to see, what y'all's feedback and thoughts are about this. But, I've always preached on like, hey, you definitely need a Facebook business page. You need to be putting through your Facebook business page versus your personal profile. But now, as I've started to run less and less Facebook ads through my business profile, I almost like start to sway back to using my personal profile for a lot of stuff. And so my thought out there is like, if you're using, if you're going to do Facebook ads, you definitely need to have a business profile. We want to put content on there, pretty regularly. But the only downside that I will say about business profiles is Facebook has so diluted your posts if it's coming through a business profile. If it's just like an organic post per se, they've diluted it so much compared to your personal profile. Like it won't show on hardly any of your people, even if they're followers of your business page, they hardly ever see that stuff in their newsfeed unless you're paying to boost those posts. And so like, one of the things, that just really, it's like, Lee, it makes me like not want to put stuff on my business page unless, I'm going to promote it, which at this point, I'm not really promoting a whole lot. So then what that does is it leads me back to putting stuff on my personal profile. Because the thing is, even on your personal profile, the thing about that is I've got followers, right? Like I've got friends. And then if I don't want to, have somebody be my friend necessarily, like I don't know them closely or whatever, I can still like, not accept that friend request. And then that person still follows me. So they'll still see my posts if I make them like a public post on my personal profile. And I've been noticing I get way, way, way more engagement just from an organic standpoint from those posts. And so there'd be two scenarios where you wouldn't want to do that. One, if you want to keep business and personal separate, right? Like if you don't want to have people seeing, your personal profile, then obviously you're going to want a business profile so you can post your, personal stuff on your personal and your business stuff on your business. But like if you're comfortable having that stuff be kind of bridged, which I am, and I think truly as like an effective marketer and somebody, that's the majority how that stuff kind of works, but it doesn't have to, but it just, in my opinion, I think that's a lot of what's kind of working these days. But, or again, if you're running a massive amount of ads, you're probably going to want to put more investment into your business profile because people are going to be going into it pretty often. But I'm just curious to see what, people's thoughts are out there, like if you're doing one or the other, Curtis, I don't know if you got insight or anybody on the call, but that's just something that's been on my mind lately.
Yeah, there's a couple people in the chat here, guys. If you do have a specific experience, love to hear your perspective. We've got Jerome and Latrice, you had a question. If you guys feel like unmuting and want to just ask or share your perspective, feel free. Otherwise, we can keep talking at you.
Latrice, I would share my posts on my business profile to my personal, but even still, like I just never got the engagement that I do if they're like straight from my personal profile. Like I'll get, a couple, like 7 likes or something like that. And maybe like a comment versus I put on my personal profile and I get, over 100 and I get like comments and like, it's just so different. And I'm like, it's almost discouraging to where it's like, I don't even want to put stuff on my business profile because it's just like a waste of my time. I feel like, and I've got 4,000 followers on my Facebook business page. It's not like I only have 100 followers, I've got 4,000 and to only get like 5 likes on something, it's like, man, like, that it's not being shown to a lot of people. And so again, that's where, again, I just feel like if, and I guess what this whole call is like, what this thing is today is to really let us focus in on like what we can maximize our time and our efforts are. And I'm not saying don't go out and get a business profile. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you're going to use Facebook for your business, just realize the advantages and disadvantages and kind of use that, in your overall strategy. So like if you're going to run ads, like you want to learn how to do ads and all that, definitely get a business profile, and definitely, figure out how to do the ads so you can run them from there. And then definitely have some content in there because the thing is like people will see your ads, but they're still probably going to go to your profile to like see what you've posted. So you want to have some content in there. If you have no intentions on running ads whatsoever, then, and you're comfortable like mixing kind of the business and the personal message. That's where I almost see like, hey, maybe you just have your personal profile, friend the people that you want to friend, accept the other people as followers if that's what you want to do. Have people follow you because I think I've got, 3,000 friends on my personal profile and then I've got like 600 followers. So there's still people that, if I want them to see whatever it is that I'm promoting, they can still see it. I just make it a public post and that's it. So cool. Everything you're saying is person. Thanks, Jerome. I'm going to pull up this person. Jerome just put a link in here. Let's see who this is.
Yeah. I'll give you my perspective real quick, Kyle, while you're pulling that up. So here's how I think about business pages. And I'm a little bit older than Kyle, right? So demographic wise, I'm almost in that, not quite in that other demographic, but just a little bit older. Here's how I think about business pages now. I think about business pages the same way that I used to think about websites like 15 years ago. So about 15 years ago, when I wanted to do business with a new company I've never seen or heard of before, I would Google them to find out if they had a website. And I wanted to make sure they were legitimate enough to have a website to just tell me that they had a real, at that time, physical mailing address and a brand and at least something they'd put up a site. Now I do it with business pages. So like personally, I was looking for a realtor to refer my aunt to sell a home, her lake house in a city that I don't work, right? And so I reached out to some friends, I networked throughout my brokerage. And once I found some agents that were potentials, I hit their Facebook profiles and then I looked to see if they had a business page because I just wanted to see, number one, if they had any reviews. So that is one extra pro of having a business page is you can actually get reviews on that business page, much like you can on realtor.com, Zillow.com. And when you have reviews on your Facebook business page, it just makes it easy to actually see that they're, number one, a good real person. And number two, they do have that professional business page stood up. So I think of it almost like a website or calling card where you're not going to use it in all of the ways that we talked about you use social media for. You're not going to use it as a communication tool. It's not going to drive a lot of engagement, but it does just sort of put a flag or stake in the ground for you that you do have a business page. You see the professional, business headshot looking stuff. You see a couple reviews and then you see a post here or there. Like for me, that was good enough. That's what I was looking for. And then I actually messaged her. Here's what Kyle is saying. I messaged her through her personal profile. I didn't message her through her business page. So just as an idea, if you're going to be in social media, like it just does make sense to have all of your social media bases covered. And I think a business page is just sort of that, front end foundation, even though it may not be as useful for communication and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's funny. It's so one of the things too that I think is kind of, as I'm thinking about it, so like now it's almost like instead of taking my business posts and sharing them in my personal, I almost share my personal stuff to my business page now, because like that's the thing is like I only have so many hours in a day.
Yep.
And I think that it is, like you said, there is merit to having a business profile, even if you're not going to, make it a big thing. It would still be, behoove most of us to get like some reviews, just so that way you look like, hey, I've got, at least 7 or 15 or however many reviews you can get, right? 5-star reviews, get them on there. Put some content, some base level content, and, and really focus on the impact of that content, like pin, maybe your about you or a quick video about like what your value is, what you bring to the table, and make sure that that's first and foremost to people. So that way, because again, I mean, they might not look back through like your entire feed on your business profile, but if they can see that you're professional and you've got this thing set up, then, that's probably more than enough, right? And then you can put your efforts on your personal page if you really want to like get your branding and be top of mind in front of people, and then just share some of your more impactful posts from your personal profile into that business page. I think that's kind of a worthwhile strategy. And then when you have an actual like thing that you want to promote, right? If you're going to run an ad for it, well, then put it on your business profile and promote it, and I think that's kind of maybe the strategy that you can take. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you guys, like one of the things that I've done now for probably the last 3 to 4 weeks, well, maybe even longer than that, since I came back from Las Vegas, is I have an accountability partner now. And we both, what we do is every day, we do 3 stories, like, Facebook stories. We do 3 Facebook story posts, 3 Instagram story posts, 1 Instagram and 1 Facebook, like actual post. So like, that's the only thing that I do every single day. And when we finish that, all we do is I take my accountability partner, I just text him done. So he either sees that I said done to him first, and then he'll text me back when he's finished it, and he'll say done when he's done it. And that level of accountability has actually helped me to be consistent. Like that's all that it took, but now it's like I put 3 Facebook stories out. I copy those and I use those on my Instagram stories. I do 1 Instagram post per day and 1 Facebook post per day. And that's all that I do to kind of stay top of mind for everybody. What was that? Please repeat. Did I repeat? I think I maybe said it twice. So just to hammer it home, what I do is 3 Instagram story posts per day. which is like if you click the little the circle icon around your face, like that's the stories, right? And a lot of people aren't familiar yet with stories, but I think that that's actually an up and coming thing that you want to get familiar with. More and more people are using it. More and more people are watching it. And the cool thing about the Facebook stories is that's where I actually have a lot of my discussion as far as like messages, because when they reply to a story, it goes to your messenger. It's not just like in the, in the feed. It actually is a message that's created. And so I've had a lot of good dialogue and discussions from people because of my stories. So I do 3 Instagram stories per day minimum. I mean, I can do more than that if I want. They're pretty quick and easy posts that you do. And then when I create the Instagram story, it copies that story onto my camera roll on my phone. And then I can just put that as the story on Facebook. So I'm just duplicating it. You can do it, like it'll automatically do it to your business profile. Like for me, I've got a Facebook business, I've got an Instagram business profile, and I've got a Facebook business page. And if I didn't want to have to do that copy paste kind of thing, it would automatically, there's a setting in Instagram where you can actually copy your stories right over, but I don't want them going to my business profile. I want them going to my personal. So I just save them to my camera roll. And then I go to my Facebook app on my phone to my personal profile. And I just take those same 3 stories that I created in Instagram and I upload them to Facebook for my Facebook stories. And then I just create 1 Instagram post, and then I create 1 Facebook post per day. And that's it. That's all that I do. That's like my entire organic social media strategy that I do.
Hey, Kyle, let me stop you there, man. I want to highlight a couple of things, guys. So I dropped that formula in the chat real quick. And seriously, if you don't do anything social media right now, or you don't have a strategy, that is the most clear, simple, easy to execute strategy, period. Like in the next 30 minutes, you could put up 1 Facebook post, 3 Facebook stories, and 1 Instagram post and 3 Instagram stories. Like so simple, yet so powerful for a couple of reasons. So number one, like you guys are, maybe you've heard about this and you think it's, you have an opinion about it, but this is like pretty cutting edge for marketers and for marketing, right? So Kyle, like what you may or may not know about him when he said he generated 400, 500, 600 leads a month, that's because he's a super effective digital marketer and he stays ahead of the curve and, like keeps tabs on the trends that these platforms are, let's say, encouraging use of, right? So stories is what Facebook and Instagram is encouraging use of right now. So the reason he puts up 3 stories and three stories per platform is because when you put up stories, Facebook and Instagram are serving those to more of your audience and even more people that aren't typically in your close proximity reach. Like they're promoting your stories. So stories are something that if you start using them now and you get in the habit of, they're going to be, in my opinion, they're going to be the equivalent of lead ads and where they were 4 or 5 years ago. Like 4 or 5 years ago, there were very few real estate professionals using lead ads on Facebook. And now their entire business is built around selling lead ad services to agents, right? Which tells you it's like right in the middle of the mainstream curve now. So still super compelling, super effective, super useful. But if you want to be like ahead of the mainstream curve, start using stories on Facebook and Instagram, because Facebook and Instagram are going to find ways for you to start leveraging those stories, and they're going to monetize them for their platforms. So for example, in Instagram stories, if you have a certain amount of followers, I think it's 10,000, you can actually use this like swipe up feature and you can link to stuff, which essentially creates a lead funnel for you just the way Facebook lead ads used to. So bottom line is start using stories. It's super important. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just start using it, because Facebook and Instagram will help it pay off for you just for using those stories.
Okay, I got a question.
Oh, what's up, Russ?
So what exactly is a story? What do you mean by a story?
Yep. So if you go on your Facebook, like on your phone, right, like open the app, what you're going to see when you first open it, and I wish I could show it. I don't know. Well, maybe I can. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it. So like the top of my Facebook, you see those like little tiles that are running like horizontally. Those are stories. Versus if I scroll up, right, like those go away, and then that's the feed. Those are just like your posts, right? So like what you want to do is you want to create a post, and you also would like to create stories. The difference is like stories go away after 24 hours. They won't still show on your profile or anything like that. Like literally you post it, people see it, they're gone after 24 hours. Versus a post, it lives in your newsfeed indefinitely, right? Unless you delete it or something like that, it's going to live on in your newsfeed. If people scroll long enough, they're going to come across that even a year later or whatever. And so the stories, though, from my opinion, I feel like stories are a little bit more intimate. Like it's like your life, you're basically every day you're creating a story of what's going on in your life, right? Like these posts don't stay up forever, so they don't have to be like super high quality, or like you're not like spending a ton of time like thinking about your stories. You're just kind of like posting what's going on in your average day. And right now, I will say, because even I talked to Chrissy and she doesn't even really look at stories very much yet. But when you look at, like, you got to look at the trends and like look at the statistics, and the stories are actually growing. Like a lot of people are getting into them. So if you can start getting in the habit of doing them earlier, you're going to be ahead of the trend. Whereas those posts, still very important, right? But those to me are like, I'm only creating one of them a day. I think a little bit, more about it, like what I want it to say. If it's like photos, I want it to be like really good, or better photos than what I would put on a Facebook story. So it's kind of two different reasons why you would do that, right? Like there's a different reason why you would do a story versus a post, but I think they're both valuable. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is if you're creating both, you're occupying two different spots in people's timeline, right? Like they might see your story, they might see your post, but either way, they're like, oh my God, this guy's everywhere, right? Like I'm seeing him here, I'm seeing him there. It's just another way for you to, be seen by the people that you're trying to, to market to. And so I think
there's a lot of data, Kyle, about the power of stories and as it relates to video as well. So like one other piece that's really important to note when you're talking about social media strategy is the effectiveness of video versus like text and pictures and stuff like that. So the platforms, Facebook and Instagram, both highly favor video. And like I said, they're starting to favor the stories. So all that's saying is that like people have used social media long enough that they no longer are satisfied with your static content. They're no longer satisfied with just some words and a picture. Like they're looking for more dynamic content. They want to see what's going on in your daily business. They want to see what's going on in your life. They want to watch videos. That's just what the platforms are telling us. Like statistically, the amount of users that engage with that kind of content is much, much higher. So the bottom line of this part of the conversation is just start using it. Like if you're not, start, and if you are, get better at it, because it's what the platforms are telling us they're going to push. And the crazy thing about this from a marketing perspective is you might have opinions about what you think works and doesn't work, but you have to follow Facebook's data about what they're saying works and doesn't work. So like if you want to use it for lead generation, for promotion, and another one that I came up with, Kyle, I wrote this down. We talked about the reasons to use social media. Another one is to what's called demonstrate social proof. So we talked about just like branding, but social proof goes back to Kyle's story of where his buddy was like, dude, that guy's selling all the houses. He's selling 6. But from a social proof perspective, he's demonstrating that he's selling all the houses. And so Facebook is giving you these vehicles, and so is Instagram, to use like stories and using video. And so you just got to try it. You just got to use it and just got to get better at it. And when Kyle gave that guy, and I think Jerome gave a guy in the chat, like when you see and hear that there are people that are good at this, these are the people you should be consuming and following as much as possible. Like, when everybody gets into real estate, last week we talked about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book as a really good guide for how to touch your sphere of influence. You should be looking for really good guides as to how to drive and refine your social media strategy. And the crazy thing about that right now is there's not just one. There's no millionaire real estate agent on social. Like that doesn't exist right now. So you need to find them and follow them and consume them as much as possible.
I love it. I love it.
Hey
Well,
guys,
yeah, that's good.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Just to jump in real quick. Sorry, I'm at the gym right now.
No, good.
But I just wanted to jump in because I know you guys said something about social proof. So something that me and our team in Milwaukee, what we do is the typical real estate agent, they only post one time, and that's when it's clear, when it's closing day. And Kyle, I know he said that there's multiple points that where in real estate where you touch that client. It can be inspection day, clear to close, buyer consultation, listing consultation, inspection day, different things like that. So I definitely think if you guys just document everything that you guys do in the transaction and post that can be content that you guys can be sharing on social media.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got, and that's the name of the game. It's all leverage, right? Like when you have one thing, you want to find out how you can make that into 10, right? Like
Correct.
you
Correct.
don't have you don't have to, be, this agent selling 100 homes a year to look like you're selling 100 homes. You could be selling 10 and look like you're doing 100 if you
Yep.
think about it right, and how to, leverage whatever it is. And that's for events, that's for which we'll
Everything.
talk a little bit about events. Yeah, for everything, right? For a closing, for anything you're doing in your business, you need to be strategic about it and think like, how do I turn this, one thing into 5 things or 10 things or whatever it is, right? And then how do I get it to be seen by the most amount of people, which is kind of what we're talking about right now, right? Like put it on stories, put it on, Facebook. And so anyways, yeah, good stuff.
Thanks, Gino. That is good stuff. Hey, one more thing to remember, Kyle, for anybody who's taken away from this, that you need to be doing a lot more on social, you do. But here's a simple rule of thumb to remember too. There's a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk who has a book, and in the book, I think the title is Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? So when you're doing all these posts, in Gino's example, where you're posting on, buyer consultation day, and then you're posting on first showings, and then you're posting on under contract, and then you're posting on inspections, those are all jabs. You're not asking anybody on your social media for anything. You're just promoting and sharing and demonstrating that you're a successful agent. And then the right hook might come on the closing day picture, and it says, who else is ready to buy this season, or who else is ready to talk about getting pre-qualified. Like that's your ask, right? So make sure you have a strategy for again, not just posting, but what you're doing with those posts and what you're looking to get out of them, and keep it, very much focused on delivering good, high value content. But don't forget to ask every once in a while, because that's how you actually get that lead.
Yeah. And real quick too. So, I mean, as far as we got a question in there, it says, do stories on your business page. You definitely can do stories on your business page, but I still feel it's the same thing. I don't know. I haven't tested it. So, I mean, but I just feel like anything on my business page, unless it's promoted, doesn't get seen by very many people. I could be wrong. Maybe there's a difference between doing stories and doing posts.
Nope, it's true.
But is it? Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I didn't even mess with it. I just do stuff through my personal. So, it's just, to me, that's the way I do it. Let's see. What about live videos and Instagram TV? So of course, live videos, guys, I mean, they've said this now for a year or more, that if you are doing live videos, that's probably the highest like form of whatever it is, video, pictures, text. Live video is at the top as far as getting getting it seen by people. Facebook is pushing it very heavily. So, I mean, if you can be doing live videos, I highly recommend it. I'm not even doing that as well as I should be. I would love to incorporate that better. But absolutely, live videos. Instagram TV, I do want to learn about that. I've never done it myself either. But I know that I see more and more people adopting it, doing it. It's basically, I believe, like the Instagram version of a Facebook Live, essentially. Might be a little bit different, but yeah, perfect. Are your stories all real estate related or also lifestyle? Adrena, both. They're both. We do, kind of mix it up. I think that, again, this is just me personally, but a lot of the people that do business with me, they feel like they want to do something with somebody they can be family of or friends of or whatever. And so for me, posting up my lifestyle stuff and my family stuff, I think that gets me closer to the people that want to do business with me. And so that's helped me in my business tremendously. So for me, I mean, I do mix them. Some people might not be comfortable with that. I'm not saying that that's what you have to do. For me, I'm comfortable with it. I've been doing it for a while now. And so, yeah, so it's,
Hey,
it's
Kyle,
really
let me be more definitive than that, though, because I follow and study a lot of top agents online and have a lot of friends who are top agents online. And Kyle is definitely one of those influencers guys in the real estate space. The mix is essential. I'm sorry to say, but like the mix is essential. So it doesn't mean you got to post your kids if you're not comfortable posting your kids, but it means that when you're driving to that appointment, post something about that drive, like put up a nice picture, or just like show yourself in traffic, or put up the song you're looking at. Like the mix is essential. It can't just be 10 real estate sales posts. Like it just can't. And so lifestyle is the way to say it. It doesn't have to be personal, because lifestyle can be, external facing. Like the camera doesn't have to be looking at you all the time, but you do have to have that nice mix, that nice balance. And in fact, what you'll find is, as you grow your reach and your audience and your influence, like you can even be heavier on the lifestyle and lighter on the real estate professional side and still get a good, significant return. So it's
I
gotta be a
love
mix.
it. Hey, real quick, cheap, shameless plug, because I just actually pulled up my Instagram, and I need y'all to go follow me. I got 9,974 followers. I'm
What? You dropped below 10K? Uh-oh.
26
Uh-oh.
away from 10,000. So I need some more people to go follow me. It's Real Kyle Handy. That's my Instagram. I saw Chanita, you'd asked what's my Instagram info. Real Kyle Handy. Go out there, follow me. Let's get me over 10,000 today. If you guys can help me with that, I'd love it. Hopefully you're getting some value out of these calls. So that'd be awesome if y'all can do that. You'll see my posts. That way you can kind of keep up with what I'm up to as well. So, but yeah, and the cool thing about it too, like, you know, with your, if you're posting on your personal stuff, and maybe you don't want like some of your more personal posts to go out there to everybody, you can mess with, you know, the privacy settings of that particular post. So like if it has your kids in it and you're not comfortable with that being public, but you're comfortable with your friends seeing it, make it a friends only post instead of a public one. And so that way you can kind of use that as your way of doing it. So for me, again, like I do that every now and then. Like if it's something like that I only want my friends seeing, then I'll put it as friends only. If I'm comfortable with everybody seeing it, I make it public. And the difference just with that is like, if they're not a friend of yours, if they're just scoping you out, they search, you know, your name on Facebook and they're looking at your timeline, they can see anything you put as public versus if it's friends only, then unless you've accepted that friends request, they're not going to be able to see it. And we had a question earlier on, do I accept all friends requests? I do not. I actually do go in and I look and see, you know, like if the person looks like their profile, like is somebody that I would know or whatever. I try and see like what the intent is there. Like if it's somebody that doesn't have any mutual friends and they're not even in real estate or they're not even in my city, I usually am not accepting that. Unless there's a message that comes along with it that explains like why they're sending a friend request. Just because you have so many spammers and scammers and people that, you know, are up to no good, I don't want them seeing all my friends' posts or whatever. So I am trying, you know, I got to try and keep that under control. Let's see here. What else do we got? One of the things too about stories, guys, this is why I think that it's so important too, that you can start using stories, is there's less competition there, right? So there's not as many people that are like actually posting stories. So when somebody opens up their mobile app and they see, you know, the bars going across as far as just the stories there, there's a better likelihood that they might see your face up there or your profile up there with a story than you would actually, you know, if you being on their timeline, on their news feed. So that's something to think about too.
So,
What's up, Jerome?
Yeah, hey, so I just wanted to chip in because stories is one of my favorites. And stories are very interactive. Like we talk about stories, but we have like different modules in the stories where we can place and get feedback. Hey, I'm going here. You could place a poll. You could place a specific event. You could place emojis. It's a lot more engaging and interactive. And that's where, like you guys said, that's where it's going. Stories are there. I also commented in the comment box where like our phones, just even when we read books, we scroll left to right. We start at the top and we scroll to the right. And that's why stories are where they are. And that's why Facebook and Instagram does it that way.
I love it, man. That's so true. I appreciate that, Jerome. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Scrolling left to right. That's exactly how it is. And that feels natural. Like I can see why it's starting to come and, you know, it's taking over, guys. So, I mean, again, we're
First thing I hit on Facebook is the first
Yep.
thing. That's how they designed it for you. Like I don't even scroll down anymore. I scroll left to right, click through everybody's stories. And if the average person opens up their phone and uses Facebook for 3 to 5 minutes at a time, 5 to 7 minutes at a time, you click through 7, 8 stories and that's your 7 minutes. You're gone. You don't even come back, scroll through the newsfeed anymore is the average user to Facebook.
Norma, as far as a business account and personal on Instagram, I do not. I just have my one account, Real Kyle Handy, that it's a business account. You can switch back to a personal account. I actually, at one point in time, thought about doing that, but then you lose a whole bunch of insights and things into like your audience. And I think too that you lose some functionality as well, having a personal profile versus a business. Now, you know, and I don't know, maybe that hurts me as far as engagement and what people see on Instagram. But at this point, I've not made the decision to go back to just like using a personal profile on Instagram. It's still set up as a business profile. The other downside of using a personal versus a business profile on Instagram is that like if you use business, you can put a link in your bio. Whereas on a personal, you cannot put a link in your bio. So like for me, I actually can track it and see how many people clicks on my link. to go to my website every single, day or month or week or whatever. And I get a lot of traffic from Instagram clicking on my link. So I wouldn't want to give up that functionality at this point, just at the expense of, maybe getting higher engagement if it was a personal profile. So I still have it as set up as a business deal. So let's see what's else. We also had, I think, Chris, you had posted in there, like, can you just, put simultaneously posting stories and timeline? Yeah, you definitely can do that. As a bare bones, like, do that, and then you at least have a chance to show up in both things. But the cool thing about stories, I just think, and you don't want to give up this ability, is the creativity that you can do with stories. Like Jerome had said, there's so much more you can do too if you actually, create the story, and it doesn't take that much longer. Once you're comfortable using it, that's the thing, is you got to be comfortable. Like now at this point, I've been doing it for about a month and a half. It's second nature. Like I can create a story quickly and easily. The first time, figuring out like, oh man, how do I put a poll on there? How do I put, emojis? How do I write and type and all that kind of stuff onto your picture to create that story might take a little bit, but it's a pretty intuitive deal. So, I mean, yeah, if you're just starting out, like maybe just at least, to get something going, do that. But then as you get more familiar, you might just post, your timeline feeds separate. You might carry over and use some of those same pictures or thoughts or text or whatever you're putting on your timeline into a story. You might, cross that over, but you might just do it a different way. Cause, the cool
related, but not identical is the easy way to think about it.
Yep.
Connected, but just not exactly the same, not a repeat, because people are looking for like that loop that Facebook takes you through. It's like, it's got to be dynamic. It can't just be the same and static. A couple more things here real quick, Kyle, I wanted to share just because some good stuff in the chat, right? So Kyle talked about it becoming second nature and how you do it, right? So now we've hopefully convinced you need to use stories. Everybody's ready to go on stories. Now, what the heck do you put on stories? There's a couple of strategies there, and one is really important. So number one, in order to put stuff on stories, if you're not good at it yet and you're not even thinking about it yet, you're gonna have to capture a lot more of what's going on than you think you do. So Kyle lives with his phone in his hand taking pictures. Like, sit down with him for lunch, boom, it's a selfie. He's getting in the car, boom, it's a picture. Like, you're gonna have to capture a lot of content so that way you can actually make your stories and your posts like purposeful and thoughtful and creative. And at first the goal is just to get something on there, but eventually, like, you're gonna want the good stuff. Like, you're gonna want the best pictures, the nice looking stuff, the funny things, the creative stuff. Gino talked about the behind the scenes stuff, right? So if you're gonna take a picture of you and your client at the closing table, cool. But what else happened that day? Like, what did it look like when you got there to set up? What was the title rep doing? What were you doing? Were you there early? Were you there late? Are you stressed out because you're, running 5 minutes behind? Was your client there? Did her husband forget the ID? Like, all that stuff is what's funny and engaging and interesting and compelling. So you got to capture as much as you can. And then in the posts, one thing I'll say is when you're doing stories and you're doing them with like volume, right? So Kyle talked about putting out 3 stories a day. I'd consider that volume. That's good. Like, you're putting out 3 stories a day. That means your post can be much more purposeful. Like, that means your post can be very deliberate, very well thought out, very well crafted. And it's going to hit home a little bit harder for folks when they actually read your stories and then hit your post. And it's something like, insightful or encouraging or thoughtful or helpful or valuable. So that's the other thing to keep in mind when you're building all this stuff is do it on purpose and capture more content than you think you need to. So that way you can use the best of the best over time.
And Jacob, here's a quick, go ahead.
Speaking of being intentional, like you have, so say you have a client and you're friends with that client on Facebook. One thing we need to be mindful of is to tag and interact with those people as well, because Facebook is based on algorithms, and whatever that algorithm is, no one knows, but you get more points by adding more people, adding more modules, doing more stuff. Tag a place. You're at the title company, tag the title company. You at the airport, tag the airport. I'm at X airport, tag, and
Yeah, if anybody follows me, even like when I do any kind of thing, like I'm putting my tag, like I'm in San Antonio, Texas, right? Like even if I'm sitting at my house, like I don't want to put my house address, but I'll put, San Antonio, Texas on my thing. I'll put how I'm feeling, because you got like a little spot there where you can put how you're feeling. And I'll put like, if I'm doing it with somebody, I'm tagging them in the post, because the more you can not just make a post, but then like show that it's legitimate, you put all these extra things, because Facebook does, they don't put those things there for nothing, right? They're not just doing it for no reason. They put that there, and then if you use that it's telling Facebook like, hey, this person's taking advantage of all this. They're going to probably bump your post up, make it a little bit seen by more people. So yeah, so I use, anytime I see Facebook, like, having an option or a tool or something you want to fill it out. It's the same thing as like, if you're going to have a business profile, fill out all the sections, right? Like they're not going to show your profile if it's not, if it's not filled out 100%, right? Like it's the same thing. If you're going to craft or create a post, use the tools that are available to you. One of the things real quick, Curtis, that I want to share just as a little tip for some people that I just recently did, and this has helped me a lot with my stories, is we signed up. So we've got Google Photos between my wife and I. So we both are iPhone users, and we have, the Photos app on our phone, but it's always kind of harder to get pictures shared between the two of us. And since a lot of my stuff is, personal and family and, and just kind of like our lifestyle, the cool thing with Google Photos is that literally she can share her whole library of photos with me and I can share mine with her. You get free storage, unlimited storage with Google. If you're just uploading the regular resolution, like not the super high res ones. And what ends up happening is like, if I'm short on pictures like from my day, I can go into Google Photos and see Chrissy's phone. And if she maybe took some good pictures or something we did that day, I just grab hers and I use them on our stories. And so for anybody looking at that, like if you've got a family and y'all are having, multiple cameras or pictures or whatever being taken, that's a good way to, easily combine it without having to like text each other pictures or airdrop them or whatever. I can literally get on her Google Photos and grab and you'll get all the pictures that I need. So that's kind of a cool deal there. But
I just want to add something if you guys
good tip.
Yep. What's up, Vincent?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So yeah, man, just to your point, that's an awesome idea. I think another thing also that we can do is, as you're working and you get busy in your business, you may not have time to create content. So you may have maybe a couple of hours in a day where you have time to create. You can kind of build stacks around that. There's a lot of free apps or software that allows you to download stock photos that are free of copyright. And you can kind of build content for those backup moments when you don't have time or you don't, have time to really post as much content. So that way you always have something consistent going in the pipeline.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the cool things about that, and I know we're at 10 o'clock, so we'll shut it down here in a sec, guys. But like the cool thing, Vincent, that I use is I love to batch my content. What that means is like, if you go on my Instagram, you probably see some of the deals. I've got quotes on there. Well, those quotes, like I'll take one day and I'll create like 20 or 25 of them. Just so that way, if I'm short on something for Instagram that day, like I've got a little thing on my phone that I can just pull any of the quotes that I haven't used yet. And it's like a backup, right? Like it probably took me 2-3 hours that one day to create all of those little quote posts that I've got. But if I'm short on something, I've got something I can draw at, really quickly and easily and put it up there. So that way I still hit my, one post a day on Instagram goal that I set for myself. So you can kind of see how that works. So anyways, Chris, I know you unmuted yourself. You got one quick question before we head off?
Oh yeah, I was waiting for a time to talk, and I just said put it in the chat. So
cool.
Thanks.
All right, sounds good. Well, guys, I know. Let's see. Can you what level of quality can you save in the pics on Google? They're actually very good quality. I forget what the free version is. I think it's limited to 16 megapixels, which is quite a bit. I mean, unless you're using like if you're using like a DSLR or something, some of those take like 40 megapixels and you won't be able to store all those. You can still store them, but it'll only store it at 16 megapixels. But if you want, you can, use your Google storage and upload all the high res ones. But for me, 16 megapixels is way more than enough for like Instagram stories and, Facebook stories. Like you're not going to need more than that. So that's why that Google Photos thing is a pretty cool thing. If you've got, you a husband and a wife, or maybe y'all are like business partners. Maybe you run a team and you want to see, some of your agents' stuff. Like some of that gets in the privacy. Like maybe they don't want you all seeing all their posts. But like in my scenario with my wife and me, I don't mind it. Like I don't, have put pictures or whatever that I don't want to be seen. And so you just got to think about that. But cool. What else we got? Is it still beneficial to use an alias? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by an alias and to what platform you're talking about that on, Jen. So we'll have to see that maybe later, but cool. I think we've hit it all. Do you have one Google account or two separate? It's two separate accounts, Steven. So like basically on Google, she's got an account, whatever her Gmail address is. I've got my account on Gmail. And you just basically, when you set it up, Google Photos, you give it access to your camera roll. And then when you set up the sharing, you just select, you send an invite to that other person's account, and you'll see it there in the sharing that you can grab their stuff. How long does it take to create a story? And are you making 3 at once or 3 throughout the day? Jacob, every day is a little bit different. Some days, if I haven't done anything all day, I might put those 3 at night, right? And it's just to get them out. Other days, like I'm using it throughout the day, and I try and, do 1 in the morning, and just as my day progresses, I'll try and do that. But it's a little bit different, and I think that some days you just, kind of do whatever you got to do to get it out there. But I think what's important is setting a goal, having an accountability partner, because until I did that, I was very inconsistent with my postings. And so now I still miss a day or two, here and there or whatever, but I definitely don't usually miss 2 days in a row, because again, my accountability partner will get on me and I'll get on him. So it's kind of fun. So cool. Well, guys, thanks again for jumping on. I know we still didn't get to events. That was like on my head.
That's all right. That's going to build up. It's going to be its own. It's funny because I feel like we could flow from this into a content related kind of, training next week, kind of mastermind content related. Because there's a lot of people on here that create a lot of content that have a lot of information, and events is a great idea for content, right? Like an event and how you promote it and all that good stuff. So maybe we'll flow into content, unless you guys have any other topics you want to cover next week. I think that'd be a good way to do it. And we can get to events. I'll move it to next week's agenda.
I love it, guys. And thank you. I already wanted to say, I looked at my Instagram. It looks like I'm at 9982. So I've already gotten like 7 or 8 likes since we talked about it. So I got 18 more, guys. Come on, we can do it. All right. Well, y'all
tell a friend to tell a friend, go tag a friend, say, hey, this is my favorite real estate guys. Go follow them so they can follow us.
There you go. Well, guys,
all right, y'all.
Guys, again, next week, same time, same place. Thanks again for jumping on. Talk to you later.
Later.